Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to do another Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord review, episodes 5 and 6, Inquisition and Night of the Hunted, in which follows up the last two episodes as you see more of the investigation of Bria Lawson to try and apprehend Maul. Ritzy going away, dealing with the conflict with his partner, Two Boots, who, after Ritzy another failure to try and apprehend him, wants to contact the Empire, resulting in him being deactivated. And then eventually, Ritzy, he does call the Empire. Meanwhile, during the course of this, you see Daki sort of trying to get Lawson to trust him, even giving him some information of where to locate Maul, and then he discovers that they are Jedi in the end, while his Padawan is dealing with Maul, who appears to be tempting her to the dark side, if you will, testing her, if you will, and then eventually dueling her and her master when they try to bring him in, if you will, with the help of Lawson. And all the while, Lawson also dealing with issues with his son as well, and with his police chief who's willing to help him but doesn't want to help to make sure the Empire comes in. But of course, like I said, Two Boots does call in the Empire now. All our characters now have to deal with the Empire. So how will this go down? Well, we're probably about to find out. Let's see. The episode sort of begins with the Empire. Coming down. I believe Cass is inspecting this, if you will, with a bunch of the Mandalorians and going back to inform Maul, asking whether or not they should leave. She has to deal with two men who are a bit disgruntled about the Empire being around here, as this was not what they signed up for. Though one doesn't mind as long as they're paid, which the other thinks that that's not going to happen. But she tries to keep them, back in line, if you will. So hopefully they're able to sort of showing that there is some distance amongst the ranks. But at the moment, she's able to keep them in control while reporting to Maul when how things are going out, if you will. During the course, we see Lawson also see the Empire's arrival, confused what they're going on, with Lawson here trying to deal with the situation along with his police chief, if you will. Let's see him on with the police chief. Let me see if I can find her. I've realized I forgot to put an image of her ready. Let's see. Hold on. Let me just quickly. Let's see. Remove from studio. Here we go. There we go. Police Chief Rice saying that the Empire is here now thanks to Two Boots, which, of course, Lawson just says that it's part of his protocol and programming. But she does not like the Empire here, but warns, she's likely going to take the fall, even though Lawson tries to do it himself. But nope. She ends up getting taken away by this guy called Lieutenant Blake, who's arrived with the Imperials, who's now being put in charge, if you will. Takes her away, and as far as we can tell, Calais has been removed from her post permanently and transferred. The implications seem a bit high, if you will. So Lawson is then interrogated by none other than Marek, the Inquisitor, that we apparently saw that survived the Empire in the Ahsoka series, as we see him as an active member of the Inquisitors, and apparently he is known as the first brother, if you will. So I'm not sure if the numbers of the brothers rank the high position, if you will. If so, that would imply that he's pretty high up. But yeah, we've got basically the first brother interrogating Lawson, who tells him all he knows about the mission that he did, leaving out, of course, the Jedi, as Claire says it's not like we hid Jedi or anything, which of course Lawson realizes that we do have Jedi here. So yeah. Anyway, you got Riley Lawson. It's trying to check on his father, but his but his partner Two Boots, which I realise I've also forgotten to put an image of. Which hold on, let me just oh no, I can't actually find. Let's see somewhere to anyone to replace. Just give me a sec. Here we go. Show this tab instead. So yeah, Two Boots is like let's see, making sure that Riley is not let's see, getting himself into trouble after he asks where his dad is. Just saying no, he's just been interrogated, and to escort him out, even when like Imperial Blake tries to question him and all that stuff. He also, I forgot to mention, had a conversation with Lawson earlier, who is a bit, worried given the Empire's now here. He tries to assure him that he forgives him for like the deactivation, but that's not really what he does, what he's worried about, telling him that he doesn't really understand the Empire. At the moment, you can tell from the interactions, he does not know so yet. Meanwhile, you have Spybar, let's see, keeping tabs on the Imperials. And then, of course, you get like Ika Diko and Devon Isa, who asked the Master possibility of like maybe we should perhaps team up with Maul, given the fact that the Empire and them are common enemies. But Daki points out that while the Empire may be our enemy, Maul will never be our ally, and just rather have those two deal with each other. Arguably, let the Empire take down Maul, and then they can try and leave the planet. Unfortunately, they get caught by a bunch of stormtroopers. He uses Jedi mind trick force abilities on them, but unfortunately, it works on one stormtrooper, but another who wasn't affected by the force noticed this. And as the guard who was force mind tricked realized something up, they start chasing him and her Jedi partner. This, of course, allows this, of course, allows Maul to like basically see this as an opportunity to try and bring Devon to his side, if you will, as we end up seeing that he has a conversation with Luke Vario, who's like, okay, I put my end of the bargain. I helped you take down the Pikes and his rival from the first episode. But now the Imperials have blockaded his gang and stuff, wondering what he gets now, and he's like, he gets to live and he's free to go. But Vario basically questions, will I actually be able to deal with the Empire, and thinks, maybe I'll be better off with Maul. But so he might end up sticking around for the long term, if you will, given the fact that he'd rather probably deal with Maul than the Empire. So yeah. But the episode ends where Lawson, before that, where Lawson ends up contacting his mother, Dara Lawson, who tells him about the occupation and the fact that his father's been interrogated. He tries to say that don't do anything to anger the Empire, help them, and tell your father to do the same, because we know that she works for the Empire. And the episode sort of ends with Lawson basically coming home to find that from his son that both Daki and Devon have arrived, ending the sort of episode, if you will. As I should probably also mention that Maverick ended up traveling to the site of the last episode of where Maul dueled like the two Jedi, sensing traces of their lightsaber. And if I had to guess, suspects that Lawson's keeping something about the Jedi, but lets him go for like in order to do the events in the next episode. But yeah, that's the ends of the episode. Anyway, for my thoughts, on let me just remove this image first. I like how you've got like Root Kaz, let's see, keeping an eye on the Empire and asking Maul that perhaps they should leave and all that stuff. But and she's even questioning, why do you want the girl as Devon as your apprentice when she tried to kill you? But of course, for Maul, being a former Sith, thinking that's an admirable quality to have for an apprentice, since well, the Sith will see the Sith fight each other, and even like ask what if she fails. But Maul is like she needs to prove herself. But no, it might be the next episode actually. But yeah, I do like how basically, while this episode doesn't have much of Maul in it, given the fact it's more of everyone else dealing with the aftermath of the Empire arriving, I do like that Maul at the moment is thinking his options and all that stuff. At the moment, staying because he wants to realize he can use the Empire's presence here as a chance to try and recruit Devon to be his apprentice. So I do like that. But I do like how there's a bit of distance in the ranks, if you will, with some of those Mandalorians not really signing up to deal with the Empire. Some don't care as long as they're paid, but if the Empire's around, that might prevent credits from coming forth. But who knows? This is probably an issue that Maul will have to deal with down the line, but let's see. But it could be possible that Maul is able to deal with these issues soon. But if not, I could see some conflict with some of these Mandalorians try to bail. But yeah. No, it's clear that you see that the Knight brothers are more loyal to Maul. You even see them sort of repairing his legs from like the damage they did like from the last previous episodes. So yeah, when Root etc. Where Cass tries to tell Maul that the Empire's spotted Devon and her Jedi Master, if you will. So I do like I've just realized I have yet to share the proper image. So but yeah, I do like how Maul is like I said, planning for like Devon to be, let's see, opportunity to get Devon to be his apprentice. Let's see, has his legs sort of repaired from like the Knight brothers, and also now have to probably dealing with some distance in his ranks with the Mandalorians, but at the same time also giving Vario a chance to live and leave, given the fact he has ended the deal. But who knows? Perhaps also tricking him, perhaps to stay because well, the Empire will come after him at some point. So it's like making Vario deal with him. But either way, I think Maul doesn't really care if Vario lives or dies at this point. He's gotten what he needs from him and all that. So yeah. Anyway, we finally get to meet, of course, Devon Lawson, granted via hologram and only briefly. Arguably, we can see that she is definitely loyal to the Empire, telling her son to like, let's see, help them and get his father to not like cause a problem. So you do that, so it should be expected. But I do like how we're starting to build. Granted, not much to a character yet, but I think we're starting to build the foundations of this character down the line. Hopefully, we might see a bit more of her, given what happens next episode. So yeah. Anyway, I do like how Riley is, let's see, starting to notice the Imperial presence, tries to find his father and find out what's going on with him. And I do like how, despite the fact that his father's been a bit absent, he does show some signs of care, especially when he finds out that he's been interrogated. Granted, I do wonder if down the line he will side more with like his mother, given the fact that his father's been a bit absent. But let's see, we'll have to wait and see in regards to that. But at the moment, it's a bit interesting because he's now getting involved with Jedi, if you will. Spy part includes to be quite funny, making fun of Imperial drone droids and calling Imperial troopers shiny, which I do like how let's see, you still got like basically the Republic gunship transports But you also got some signs of the early Empire's transports. You see the slow transition between what the Republic and the Empire. You know, the gunships no longer having their colors on. And even, like, I think you get some early signs of walkers thrown about this episode. So, yeah, and you got, like, the Stormtrooper armor from, like, the Bad Batch, if you will, which is nice. Granted, it now seems like Khaleesi's like time in the show is over. Let's see. She, of course, we know that she, like Lawson, didn't like the Empire here, but now knows that there's no getting rid of them now. And it seems like she's willing to not, let Lawson take the blame and all that stuff. And it seems like whatever she did in the interrogation seems to have gotten her removed, if you will. Arguably, perhaps to defiance the Empire. But granted, from the claw marks we saw on the table where Lawson comes in later to be interrogated, it might imply that it got brutal with her. Now, it says that she's been transferred permanently, but the way the tone of permanently implies that, she might have been possibly eliminated or, terminated, if you will, permanently. Who knows? But at the very least, it could very well be that she's been locked away as a prisoner. Who knows? But I don't think we'll be seeing her again this season. I could be wrong, but heck, it's for all we know, we might learn of her fate. But at the moment, it's just a more of a quiet thing. I mentioned a little bit that Vario, of course, it's now free to go, but he's done what he needed to, but realizes that, okay, with the Empire around, perhaps his best bet is to stick with Maul. Granted, I don't think he's going to survive long, but it's especially outlived his usefulness. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a casualty at some point, but I do like how he realizes that Maul, at least for the time being, Maul might be the better option. So that was pretty good. We've got besides Dara Lawson, we got a new character as Blake the Imperial, just basically a standard authoritarian officer, if you will, coming in, taking charge, removing the head of the police for what believes disobedience, and not liking civilians getting in the way of restricted areas. As lucky for Riley, Two Boots was around to prevent anything from happening, which it's your standard sort of like Imperial, but let's see. Speaking of which, let's see, we have, of course, Two Boots, who at the moment, thinks that, still think it was the right thing to do to bring the Empire here. And granted, I do like how he cannot seem to read that. Why he can read that Lawson's a bit nervous. He thinks it's because, okay, you deactivated him, not realizing just how much his partner dislikes the Empire. And arguably, whether or not he sees he seems to have complete faith that, Lawson will be, for the most part, will come back, but does maybe say as long as he's doesn't do anything problematic. I do like how he tries to protect Riley and all that stuff, and making sure that he's away from the Imperial Blake. But yeah, which I do like how we see Lawson throughout the episode. Wanting to take the blame for the operation going wrong. How he handles the interrogation, if you will, though he does seem to eventually get impatient, wanting to at least a drink or something. But yeah, but I do like how he doesn't snitch on the Jedi, but there's worry that they might not fully believe him. But I do like how he's like, oh no, we've got the Jedi Shark here. This is going to cause me a whole lot of problems. So yeah, and I do like I said here, I do like how Marek is interrogating Lawson and then goes to check on the site where he Lawson tried to ambush Maul, and sees, of course, that and I do like how he investigates sort of the battle takes place, realizing that they've probably, and I guess he probably realized there was a lightsaber battle here. Probably realized that besides Maul, there are Jedi here, if you will. And I think he probably, if I had to guess, he probably did suspect that Lawson knew that they were Jedi, so decide to let him go and see if he will lead him to the Jedi, which I do like how we've got Devon starting to think like, maybe we should start teaming up with Maul, but her master, she senses that this is Darth Maul's words in her when it's like we have like the ability to act or something, but she wants to convince her that it's best to hide away for now, survive, if you will. Granted, Devon might say that she's not really affected by Maul's words, but that you can tell that there's signs there at the very least. But yeah, I do like the moment where Darky does do that Jedi mind trick of don't need to see identification, but unfortunately, he's not unlucky like Obi-Wan, where let's see, another stormtrooper did not notice that they did not actually give through their identification. So yeah, there's a bit of a reverse of it. I'd say that's quite a clever reverse of expectations there from that standard Imperial and Jedi mind trick, showing that while it might work on individual stormtroopers, it's not going to work if they're in large groups and others notice that identification is not there. But yeah, either way, I do like how our protagonists are now dealing with like the fact that the Empire is here. Some of them are, some of them are now discussing how they deal with this and calling to one or the other to try and help them out. So yeah, overall, if I had to give this first episode, if you will, I'd probably give it, basically I'd say between a 7 or 8 out of 10. Arguably, this episode's more of a setup one, building up the fact that there's not much Maul in this one, but I think that it makes sense what they're doing, seeing all the other characters dealing with like the Empire arriving, Two Boots thinking it's a good thing. Let's see, Lawson, of course, not. Let's see, Riley trying to get getting opinions from his mother and Two Boots, but just trying to find out if his dad's okay. The Jedi realizing that they need to leave, go and resort to the only contact that they know. Let's see, Kylie's being like removed, as well as the threat of like Mara Retzi arriving to hunt Maul. So yeah. Overall, that first episode, pretty good. Anyway, now on to like basically the second episode, which begins with Darth Maul, who seemingly, I think, got his new legs, where his legs were repaired, is testing them out and practicing all sorts of lightsaber maneuvers, starting with like the single forms before changing to double bladed, where let's see, Cast, if you will, comes in to report that they have found something, and I believe this is where I think Darth Maul realizes that the Jedi Hunter's here, where I think last episode for Fraternity of Opportunity realizes that this is now a chance to try and become Devon's ally, saying that even when Cast questions it, saying that it gives her a chance to sort of test herself, if you will. So we have that sort of scenario. We get Devon, let's see, Brandon Lawson here, not happy that let's see, Daki and Devon are here, if you will. Let's see, with Riley confused, like what's going on here. With Daki suggesting that Devon take Riley to like go hang out with Riley in his room while he talks with Lawson, who is of course not happy he's here. Let's see, during this bit, we end up seeing that Riley and Devon. Devon gets a bit curious about Devon's life here, noticing his family portrait, where Devon reveals that his mother and his father split because she got a job in Coruscant, and he decided to stay here and with his father, with his friends, playing, let's see, the sport. I believe on, what's it called? School, and something called Pocket 10. It seems to, I don't know what that necessarily is, but from what I can tell, it seems to be some sort of like let's see, sort of like hockey ball game or something like that. Where or at least some sort of like well, not necessarily hockey, one of those games where you like have like the scooping stick that throws a ball or something, but it seems to be based on real sports of lacrosse or jalali jai ala. Well, but who knows? It probably is like the Star Wars equivalent of those sports, if you will. But yeah, it is interesting to you get those moments where Lawson's asking about Daki where he's going, and he talks about being survivors of the Purge, Retzi, Jai Purge, Retzi, and him and this Padawan were passing through this planet before encountering Maul and later the Empire. Now they're trying to get off world. Lawson, Retzi, while understands the situation, doesn't really want to get involved because if the Empire finds out he's even talking to him, his son will be in trouble. Unfortunately for him, Marek ends up entering, the building, if you will, and it does not go well for the heroes, as now you've got the two Jedi now battling them in a lightsaber duel, if you will. Daki holding her off for the most part while they're telling Devon to get Lawson to the father and son Lawson duo to safety. You get Lawson shooting at Imperial stormtroopers, which shocks Riley because that's the Empire, but Lawson saying the Empire is not really what you think. Eventually, Daki, while holding off the first brother Marek, has Devon steal a gunship, and she fires on Marek, or first brother, if you will, and they end up, basically escaping. During the course of this, I believe you see two Boots and mostly interacting with Reb here, thinking that it is probably a good thing that the Empire is sending all this resources to help them, if you will. And thinking that the captain will Captain Lawson will eventually thank him, and unfortunately for him, he starts to see images of wanted thing of Lawson about, and he is confused by this. And this is where Blake says that Lawson's become a traitor and demands that Two Boots removes the two boots out on his shoe that he's wearing his shoes, saying it's against protocol. And this is where you see, I think, Two Boots maybe starting to realize that perhaps maybe the Empire is not a good thing here, since now his partner is now wanted by the law, and he doesn't think that Lawson would break the law, if you will. But perhaps because the Empire is trying to strip him of his sort of like individuality, if you will. The Empire just sees him as a mere droid who should be wearing the stuff. But under Lawson, Lawson and the Republic, he got to wear those boots as part of his personality, if you will. So it would be interesting to see if he does eventually try and see if he can help Lawson. No, I wouldn't be surprised if he does a self-sacrifice or something. But yeah. I can see a character arc of him turning against the Empire, maybe even sacrificing himself. Because I can see this guy as being a casualty. It'll be a shame, but at least it'll be a decent character arc for this droid that called for the Empire, that insisted in calling the Empire. Now he does, and at first Happy is sort of he realizes it was a mistake, but I'm getting into parts of my thought. Probably should be more safe for thoughts. Meanwhile, throughout the episode, you get Spybot keeping track on Devon and all that stuff, alerting Maul, if you will, when he eventually goes to help. But Lawson eventually decides that they need to try and contact his friend Rena Sol, who can get them off to the world, if you will. And she's not happy about the situation going on with the Imperials, and wondering what kind of trouble Lawson is in. wanted to ask about the two. Who does he want to even want to ask about these two? But of course, Lawson says not. Riley ends up giving a bit of information that she was one of his formants and they have a bit of a history, but has never actually met her before. And Lawson reveals that Rendo Sui was actually once a bounty hunter back before he was like a detective. And it seems they had an encounter where they both ended up saving each other's lives. I'm not sure if that means that they once worked together or they were in opposing forces at one point, but resulting conflict between the two resulted in them saving each other's lives and then putting us inside and becoming like friends. Though I wonder if that might be more trying to be more in friends on her part, but who knows. But from what I can suspect, one of her customers informed the Empire that Lawson was here. So she tries to stall for time and trying to offer assistance to stormtroopers, but they refuse her. And eventually she starts getting in a fist fight with them and they start chasing her, with Lawson and Daki holding off like Imperial stormtroopers while Devon takes Riley to the back, but unfortunately Marek is there. They try to get away, but Marek notices them and they end up being chased, if you will. Devon ends up dueling him in a lightsaber battle, but of course stands no chance. But of course then Darth Maul arrives, helping Devon, and they battle to a bit. And let's see, with like possibly the Darth Maul and his future apprentice teaming up against the Jedi Hunter. And before eventually Devon ends up cutting like the cable connections to like the carts, so he ends up escaping with Devon pointing his lightsaber at Maul, but Maul then deactivates hers, showing that he's no threat and saying, "You've now just seen a true enemy." Arguably, he's trying to slip in the slopes of like let's see, begin the seeds of recruiting Devon, if you will. With the episode ending with Marek going aboard the Imperial Star Destroyer, putting on a hologram, with contacting what is likely probably Darth Vader, maybe Darth Sidious, but I've had to guess Darth Vader since all Inquisitors report to him, reporting that Maul is here and he's teamed up with two Jedi, asking what the next response will be, which likely implies that we're going to get one of the Inquisitor that Ahsoka deals with in Tales of the Jedi, if you will. Sort of ending the episodes given that we know from the trailers. So yeah, arguably this episode, I will admit, is a bit quicker, a bit more quicker and fast-paced plot, but that's arguably because once the Empire discovers that Devon and Daki are Jedi and that Lawson is in league with them, it ends up being chased all around throughout the episode. So yeah. I do like how the sort of dynamic between Lawson and Daki. Daki, of course, sees the good in Lawson and tries to see if he can get help, and trying to get Lawson to trust him. But while Lawson might respect the Jedi, he doesn't want to get involved too much because he knows that if they do, his son and him will get in trouble with the Empire, which unfortunately does. And he ends up, I do like the sort of banter he has between him and Daki about this. So it's like, oh, that's reassuring. He says, "You just trust me, yes," and all that stuff. I even like the sort of butting heads he has with Devon for some bits, like try not to steal anything, or let's see, do you even know how to fly the sort of gunship, if you will? So I do like that little bit of interactions. I do like how we get a bit more of his history with this character, Renan Sol, who we know was informant last time, but it seems like he knew about her a bit beforehand with the history of before he became like the detective he is. Now, granted, I doubt that it was something like a bounty hunter like she was, but I wouldn't be surprised maybe he might have been it could have possibly been, but then they might have encountered each other, but eventually decided to take a more of a life of the law. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was more of always more on the side of the law early on, if you will, and just had encountered her and they were on opposing sides, but end up saving each other. And as a result, this resulted in a likely friendship where she would try to help him out, even when trouble as the Empire goes on, which I do believe one of her customers did end up snitching to the Empire. I do like how she tries to set him the situation, but of course she gets into a fist fight with the Empire, so she herself is likely needing to now escape as well. I do wonder if we'll see this character again, but it could be that her fate remains unknown for the rest of the season, but who knows. I like to think we might see her one more time. Maybe she gets captured and the Empire tries to interrogate her, but she's got nothing, and who knows, she might end up being killed. I have no idea, but given the fact that the show's focused on Maul, I expected probably a much more darker fate for some of these characters. Speaking of, I do like how Reb is back and Ritzy is talking with Two Boots about the whole situation. I could bet that Reb's not happy about the Empire, like all the other living organic police officers, but Two Boots is not. In fact, he seems to be the only one that seems to be like happy the Empire's here at first, because I think even some of the other droids, what I saw from the other episodes, were not happy, given how they're interfering with with their duties, if you will. But I do like to think that now that his captain is now, of course, wanted by the Empire, and the fact that it's the Imperial officer Blake told him to remove the boots, he might start thinking that, okay, the Empire might not be such a good thing here. I do like how Blake is being like a standing Imperial, preventing any personalized gear and stuff for individuals that should not be wearing them, because the Empire is all about the strictness of proper uniforms, no individuality, particularly with the boots that Two Boots is wearing. So who knows? We have to wait and see there. And that let's see. I do like Spy Bar. This Fitzy funny in the background as usual, and all that. I do like the sort of duo that Daki and Devon are of trying to take on the Inquisitor, but you can tell that Daki is perhaps maybe getting a bit too old, or perhaps maybe too not as yet fully recovered from the fight with Maul. Is sort of struggling now and then to deal with the Inquisitor, but he's still able to hold out long enough for Devon to steal a gunship, which I will admit, props to her. And she's able to handle herself quite well against the Inquisitor one-on-one when she's around with when she's by herself and all that. I am curious. I do like the sort of interactions we have with Riley, if you will, learning about him, and there's this family drama, if you will, why he chose to stay here with his friends and the sport he gets to play, even if he has a bit of a complicated relationship with his dad at the moment because he's too busy with his job. But yeah, arguably he might have gotten more time with his mom. I'm not sure. It could be possible that the mother would also just be too busy with Imperial work. But let's see, at the very least, we get an idea of what happened, of why his family split apart at the very least. Granted, now that he's on the run with his dad, I do wonder if he's going to believe his father about the Empire not being there. Who knows? It could possibly be that eventually he gets fed up and thinks that they should just trust the Empire, but who knows? It could be possible that there might be a romance developed between him and Devon. I could go that way, but if I do see that, I could see that more of a means of Maul, him being killed or sacrificed that furthers Devon's fall to under Maul, if you will. So I have to wait and see. But at the moment, I do like how you seem to be getting interactions built between these two youngsters from both good guy groups, if you will, all coming together. So I do like seeing that. Anyway, I like how Marek is able to, it's shown to be quite the skilled duelist. We saw that with Ahsoka, where he's able to fight her for a bit, although of course he does eventually get killed. And I'm still suspecting that it's given from the trailers, Maul does eventually kill this character, and he gets resurrected under the commands of the Night Sisters, and that's why he was helping to Dark Jedi, if you will, Baylan Skoll with his mission and becoming a mercenary. Because I assume that if he did defect from the Empire would hunt him down. So I assume that it's likely he was just he eventually gets killed by Maul and then brought back to serve the Night Sisters, because they do have that sort of magic abilities, and given how he disappears in smoke. But at the moment we haven't seen much of his personality as a character. As a sort of physical obstacle and opponent, I think he does well. showing that he can take on two Jedi. And especially, granted, the Jedi are like one's as an old master that seems to be a bit tired, and the other's like a young Padawan. But nevertheless, it's impressive that he's able to take on two, and even take on Maul and Devon on at the same time. So I do like that he seems to at least have quite the skills. I think I've seen some thinking that he might be the most skilled duelist amongst the Inquisitors, but given the fact he's the first brother, though granted we have to wait and see more down the line. But I do like how after confirming seeing more, he goes to like report to arguably Darth Vader of like what the next action to do, since he probably realizes that he might need backup. But yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how he and I believe the other Inquisitor will deal with like the Maul situation. Anyway, speaking of, let me just I do like how let's see, you have the cast questioning whether or not Devon will be able to survive the Inquisitor, but Maul is saying this is a perfect test for her, if you will. So I do like her doing that at the very least. She doesn't do much this episode besides informing Maul, but I think we'll see more of her in the next batch of episodes afterwards. So yeah. Now, granted, I will admit, arguably the Darth Maul lightsaber skill things at the beginning of the episode, I think it was just might be a bit of a pad of running time, if you will, a bit of fan service of just seeing Maul's skills, if you will. So kind of similar to how you would see the live action actor of Maul, Ray Park, to perform in like Star Wars cons. Though granted, we probably won't see that much now, given I think he's been a bit of sketchy, doing some sketchy things, which I think prevented like further more live action shows or like film appearance and why we've got animated ones. But yeah, but yeah, I do like how but even though arguably Maul is basically, arguably you could say the lightsaber practice at the beginning was going on too long. I do like how it seems that the reason why you're doing this is to Maul just to test out his new legs. And I do like how he realizes that the opportunity has come for like Devon. He comes at the right timing to save, if you will. Arguably having Spybot like keep an eye and having time right to show up. And I do like how he's able to handle the Inquisitor, if you will. Could he do it one-on-one? Probably, but I think with him working with Devon is, of course, he's trying to build trust with her as he wants to make her his new apprentice. I'd like how he takes down the withdraws his lightsaber and Devon points as it's like as a way of showing that I am not your enemy. You've seen your true enemy. So it's like he's starting to get, probably perhaps with this action, is starting to get Devon to trust him. I'm very curious to see how the interactions will go between him, Lawson, and Darky down the line. I think Lawson and Darky, of course, trying to persuade Devon that no, Maul's a bad guy, you shouldn't trust him. And maybe even Riley, who knows. I could see maybe the two youngsters trying to trust more when they probably shouldn't. But who knows? It'll be very interesting to see the dynamics of these characters now that they seem like our heroes and anti-hero, if you will, of Maul, probably anti-villain, really. Protagonist, if you will. Now probably coming together while the Empire hunts them. Overall, I give this episode a 9, maybe not necessarily a 10, maybe 9.5, because I think they might have did a bit too long with the padding at the beginning. 10, it was a good highway chase episode, seeing Jedi and father-son duo deal with like the Inquisitor and the Empire chasing them. Lightsaber combat was great, and a bit more of certain characters, if you will, and perhaps maybe some plot points of building where characters start to like change allegiance or change their thinking in regards to, like, say, the Empire or partnerships, if you will. Pretty good episode. I quite enjoyed it. I definitely say I did hear a lot of reviewers that have seen the early episodes at the very least say that things really start to pick up once the Empire arrives, and you can definitely see it with this episode. and all that stuff, particularly with the lightsaber combat, that is arguably the best thing that we get to see in this animated show. The lightsaber combat in like animation has gone miles away. You probably got a lot of people wishing that you only got that for like some of the live action Star Wars, as much of Disney's live action lightsaber duels have not really been on par with what came before. Except maybe the Acolyte, which is a bit ironic given the fact that is the show everyone ended up hating. But yeah, but overall, it was a good episode, good 2 episodes, and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next 2 as they see the aftermath of possibly working together now that the Empire's after them all. But for now, I'm Blue Star Saber. For those listening, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. But for now, I am signing off. See you again until next time. May the Force be with you.